So language has great power. Language can kill, and language can heal. Looks also have great power. Looks can kill, and looks can heal. So today, when you're in our readings, those are pretty ominous, right? I mean, Daniel's talking about all of this thing that could go wrong. Jesus is talking about sky falling and stars falling from the sky. It's pretty ominous. And we kind of live in dark times now, right? I'm going to tell you, just listen to the language that is used in social media, in the news and all that. It's not loving at all. The language that's used a lot of times, that we hear a lot, is the language of bullying. It's the language of genocide, right? Bullies use this kind of language. They use language to put people down, to separate them, to encourage others to hurt them, to blame someone for their problems, right? They do everything they can to put this person down. And 34%, this is a recent study, 34% of teenagers report being bullied in the last 12 months. Now, if you were one of those 34% teenagers, would you say it's a pretty dark time? What about if you're a family or a friend? Would you also say, isn't that kind of a dark time for that to be going on so much? Yeah. And the language those bullies use, same kind of language that's used in a very real way prior to genocide. One of the key things that led to 6 million Jews being killed, 800,000 Rwandas, 100,000 Serbs or Bosnia, right? I could go on and on and on. The key thing that scares me, to be honest, is the language that preceded it. It's the language that puts people subhumans, calling them vermin, calling them rats, calling them cockroaches. And we hear that today. It can be really scary when I think about it. And so language in a very real way can lead to a lot of killing. And those 6 million and all, it doesn't even start to touch the number of people who are dealing with the aftermath, people who have PTSD from it, people who are displaced. I've lost track of how many millions of people are displaced because of this kind of language. And that's where it starts. But we're not called to speak that way. We're called to be Christians, to follow Jesus and do what Jesus does. And so let's just kind of remind you of something I know you all know. A situation where there's a mob that are using the language to make one person look like they don't deserve to live. And for those who recognize it, this is when those men gathered around to kill the adulterer. Because she was, I'm not saying that's right. But you notice the language is very similar. That they were placing all of their problems on the woman. Where was the man? That's bullying. That's wrong. But we are called to do what Jesus does. And the language, what language did Jesus use? Neither do I condemn you. Your faith is healed. Look, over the coming week, let's just pay attention to the language we use. Right? To the language we use, to see if we use language that are lifting people up, bringing people together, or if we are using the language of pushing people away and putting people down. And let me tell you, language is contagious. What scares me is, I read, this was years ago, in Bosnia or whatever, that area, these people lived together for 40 years under one rule. And they were friends. People grew up together, were close friends. In a relative blink of the eye, they're killing each other. And so pay attention. Let's pay attention over the next week of the language, not only that we use, but the language we let in, that we listen to. And find language that lifts people up and brings us more loving, as Jesus did. Now, looks can also kill. Everybody hears that phrase, if only looks could kill. Well, looks do. I don't have time to go into it. But you know, there's a lot of people that I've talked to personally that have come to me, and they're just devastated because the looks people gave them. And they felt pushed out and unwanted, which is also another cause of death. But looks can be very, very powerful. Looks can heal in ways that are unimaginable. Unimaginable. And true story. When we're going through the diaconate, we have several little rituals that we go through about once a year. And this one time, I think it was to become a reader or something, that's not important. But I was called to come and kneel down in front of Bishop Rosado. And I was kind of like, okay, let's get this done. But I happened to look in his eyes, and he looked in mine. And let me tell you, the faucets came on. In that moment, I have felt something so loving without a word being said about it. And it changed my life. It still moves me today. When I think about that, when I was thinking about it writing this, I had tears in my eyes. That's how powerful it is. And that's one of the reasons why when I go to prison, people ask for a blessing, I want to look them in the eye, because what am I looking for? I'm looking to find the Christ in them. And hopefully they can find the Christ in me. And it can be life-changing. Not that I'm special, not that these people are special, but we're all special because we all have Christ within us. So look, I think it is a dark time. And I'm not saying Jesus is going to show up, his second coming, in the next weeks or so. I'm not saying that. It might, I don't know, only God knows, right? But this is what I do know, that we can bring Christ to others through our looks and through our language. Let me tell you a quick story about a woman. Her name was Immaculée Ibiganzi. Anyway, she spent 91 days in a 3-foot by 4-foot bathroom being hidden during the Rwanda genocide with 7 other women. 91 days. Look, I think it's only 6-minute video on YouTube. I think it's 91 days, I forget. Come find me, I'll look it up on my paper, right? So what was going on, it describes everything I just described about how genocides can come that quick. And the language and all of that. But when they finally left that cramped bathroom and they were escaping through the woods, she came face to face with her would-be executioner. Had a big giant machete and a spear, and they locked eyes. I don't know how long it lasts. I don't know that she does. They locked eyes. And that man turned from her executioner to the one that helped her escape. He found Christ in that moment. Whether he uses that language or not, don't know. But that's what it was. Love passed between them in that look. Just try this week. Try this week. When you come in contact with people, look at them and try to look at them with the look about love. And try to connect with their eyes. I'm telling you, if we could change our language and we can change the way we look at people, we will have an amazing experience of Christ among us. Not nearly as good as when he comes the second time. But given my experience with the Christ among us, let me tell you, I can't even imagine how good it'll be. But we don't have to wait. Amen?